Hey, welcome to the third part of the product market fit. In this part, we are going to discuss briefly the lean methodology or how to build your startup from scratch. Before we start, let me take you to the background of the lean methodology. Basically, there are different methods that are used in the project management. Uh, there are different projects from the engineering projects to the software development projects and other types of the projects in the government and the developmental sector. So, in order to complete a certain project or achieve or conduct a certain task, there are different methods to used by the engineers or the project managers. Some of the concepts that are used are the lean methods, the Scrum method, the waterfall method, right? But in our case, the lean methodology is different than the other technology methodologies like the Scrum methodology or the waterfall methodology. Scrum is basically a rigid methodology in order to ensure the certainty or the timely completion of a certain project. The engineers or the project managers they follow the Scrum methodology. At the same time, waterfall is also the same kind of methodology that is strict and rigid, and there are least possible chances of any changes in the plan to complete a certain task or certain project, maybe building maybe writing a software or maybe building a building let's say, right? Lean methodology is on the other hand is a little bit more flexible, and it improves with or it changes as per the new information or the new learning of the project manager. Mostly it is used in the startups or developing the businesses, rather than it cannot be used in those tasks which require certainty or timely completion of certain projects. But since we are building a business, so that is why we should keep it a little bit slow and little bit uh, as per say building as per the new learning in that words, because the market can react differently to different products and different marketing campaigns. So we cannot rush or we cannot set a time frame for building a business. So that is why lean method is mostly used in the startup world, while the Scrum, Waterfall, and Kanban and other methodologies that are used in the software development or another tasks that require certainty or timely completion of the projects. Lean methodology is the mantra of the lean methodology is basically the perfection, or the perfect is the enemy of the good, right? Most of the time, the entrepreneurs they think that they should launch the product when it is fully completed, or they should launch a perfectly built product, right? Actually, this is the misconception. So many times we have seen, like for example, in the case of the cars or the aeroplanes, the initial version of the cars and the aeroplanes are not what we see today, right? Like in the form of the Tesla, Porsche, and other cars that we see. So if they were to build the perfect product, so I guess 100 years on they would never have launched the cars, right? So the basic mantra is that launch the product or the solution with the minimum viable product, and then improve with the passage of time. If you look at the initial versions of the Facebook or the YouTube or the Google, so we can say they have changed a lot, right? And that is how the system works, right? You change according to the new knowledge or the new data that is coming to you, and you improve accordingly. So perfection is the enemy of the good, in other words. So in other words, you should launch the product in the minimum viable form as possible. And the second mantra that the lean methodology use is the prove your market with minimal spend. Instead of investing so much money in the product development and later on finding there is no need for the market, or the customers react totally differently as per your expectations. So it's wise to launch the product with the minimum viable set and prove your market if there is a need for the solution in the market or not, right? So proving your market with the minimum viable product, or in other words, with the minimal spend, is the mantra of the lean methodology. In other words, a lean product process is the voice of the customers, right? And how it is the voice of the customer? Basically, the data that we generate from the customers. Like in the previous lecture, we discussed Hotjar, right? In the Hotjar is the fee is the service that basically tells you which parts of the website or the application the consumers are clicking more, are liking more, in other words, right? So then those data sets, are those heat maps, basically is the voice of the customers, and we improved our feature set as according to the voice of the customer. So that is what is the lean product process, in other words. This is the lean product process. There are three blocks of the process which occur simultaneously. It is the build, measure, and learn, right? As soon as you have the idea, so you build the product, right? And then for your information, there are different tools or different methods that how can you build, right? So it is the minimum viable product, or the developer sandbox, or unit test, usability test, right? So that is what you do basically when you initially build a tangible form of the idea, right? And as soon as you do that, you launch the product, right? And you put it to test to the customers or the target market usability, right? And how they react and how they interact with the minimal viable product. So you tend to measure those things, right? And how you do that, basically you do that through split tests or the A/B test in the small forms, right? At the same time, you conduct the usability test and real-time monitoring and alerting and customer liaison at the same time, right? And as we discussed in the previous lecture, the hard jar could also help you in this regard, right? So you measure that. And at the same time, whatever is your learning or whatever you learn from all these interaction with the customers, so you again incorporate those learning into the product part and build it again, right? So now we discuss it in a little bit detail, the three components of the product market fit, right? So these are the questions that you need to ask when building the product, right? The first question is, what is the problem and how can I solve it, right? So understanding the market and the customers and the gaps in the market and how your solution is going to solve that problem is basically the two important questions, right? And what is my solution? And the most important one that in the previous lecture we said we'll discuss in detail is the application part, right? Can I build and deploy quickly? This part is more important as it will determine your team building, right? Do you hire someone, or do you find a co-founder, a technical co-founder in most of the cases, that he will help you basically in developing the product and taking that product to the market as quickly as possible, right? So can you build that product, and how long it is going to take that product to the market are the key questions for the survival of the business, right? So these are some sample questions you need to ask when you are building a certain solution for your target market. The second part is the measure part, right? There are certain things you need to measure, right? The first thing is how many users are there, how big is the target market size, right? Most of the time it's a little bit hard to determine the market size. However, for some reasons you can have a hypothetical assumption that how big is the market for your target market, for your target solution, right? So how many users you got, and at the same times are the users engaged? An example in this case could be if you are a consultant, a social media consultant, and you conduct the social media promotion for a politician or maybe for a business, right? And then you are able to bring around 1 million followers to that page, to that business. So, and if the business posts something, or they post something on the page, how many likes are coming on that post, right? How many shares and how many comments are, and are they really liking the post, are the updates from the business, are the politicians? So that is the main question of engagement, right? Sometimes the restaurant may have like around 10,000 users, or 10,000 people have a membership, but how many actually come to the restaurant on daily basis, or how many actually uses their services? At the same time, so many times we have seen there are millions of downloads of a particular mobile application or game, right? But how many actually use that mobile application on daily basis, right? So that is so much important that you need to measure, and that should also be part of the measurement. and what is being mostly used, what are the features or what are the posts that the followers are liking. So you need to know that, because if people are not liking a particular post or particular feature, so you should avoid posting, or you should remove those features from the product set, right? So that is part of the learning. And most importantly, what are my key performance indicators, or how I should measure my success, right? So these are the things that you should consider while measuring for improving the product, right? And then what is it that you learn from all these measurements, right? For example, from the engagement, why the users are engaged, what are the features they like it, right? What is it that makes them stick to the subscription or to that particular service, or they are not, what is it that they are not uninstalling our mobile application from their smartphones, right? So why they are engaged, it is so much important. And if they are engaged, does it have any worth for our business, right? Is this engagement getting us some money from the users or not? If, for example, they are liking your blogs and they're reading your blogs, but they are not paying you for that purpose, is it worth a business, right? So how can you change this system and generate some money, generate revenue for the business at the same time? So not only the engagement is important, but also the worth that is coming from the engagement is also important, right? And what is it that I can improve, right? Not only the feature set, but at the same time the business side of the solution at the same time, right? And what are the features, or what are the things that I should get rid of, right? So these are the basically some of the questions you need to ask yourself when you are learning for the very sole purpose of improving the product, right? So these three, the build, measure, and learn, are the lean methodology, and that is why we say it is the voice of the customers, right? So I hope you have got a good grasp of what is the lean methodology, right? To cut it short, lean methodology is a way of optimizing the people, the resources, and the efforts and the energy of your organization to achieve value for the customers, and at the same time the value for your business at the same time, right? So with this, we have come to the end of the third part of the product market fit, right? In the product market fit, I should revise all that we discussed in the three parts, right? So we introduced the concept of the product market fit. We discussed the importance of the product market fit. We discussed the importance of understanding the market side of the product market fit at the same time. Then in the second part, we discussed the framework, that is the different dimensions of the product market fit, right? We also discussed if a company fails to achieve the product market fit, then it should go for pivoting or changing the course of the business at the same time, right? We discussed few examples along the way, the YouTube example and the Instagram example, right? And in this third part, we discussed very briefly, we discussed the lean methodology, that what is lean methodology, right? And lean methodology is a method of project management. In other words, business, if you consider business as a project, right? So that is basically done slowly, and with the gradual learning, you improve the product, right? So thank you so much. Thank you.